Hello, very good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Our headlines for you this morning. A major search in the English Channel after a migrant boat heading for the UK sinks, killing 2 adults and 2 children. The authorities believe more people could still be missing.
An appeal for clarity of the COVID rules for Christmas with just one set of regulations for the whole of the UK.
For lots of us, Christmas can't come early enough. Some shops are already reporting record sales for the festive period. I'll be finding out what we're spending our money on.
Good morning. Manchester City may be halfway down the Premier League, but they're halfway to qualifying for the Champions League knockout stages with 2 wins from 2.
Danny Dyer and daughter Danny join forces to offer useful advice in a new podcast. But how helpful will they be?
Now, the premise of it is, it's sort of with the Dyers, is that we're sort of answering people's problems. But I just want to make it very, very clear today that we're not qualified to do that.
Good morning from the Tower of London. We're going to be talking more ghost stories this morning, seeing the Ravens having their breakfast about 7:45. And I can tell you it's a chilly start to the day. Not here in London, not just here in London, but across many parts. And we're looking at sunshine and showers, blustery conditions and large waves out in the west. I'll have all the details in 10 minutes.
Good morning. It's Wednesday. It's the 28th of October, and the top story for you this morning is that a search operation is expected to continue in the English Channel this morning after a migrant boat sank off the coast of Dunkirk yesterday.
2 children aged 5 and 8 were killed, along with 2 adults. More than a dozen others were taken to hospital, but French authorities believe more could still be missing. Andy Moore reports.
Je comprends que j'avais 3 arrêts cardio-respiratoires et vous...
A large rescue operation was launched when the alarm was raised yesterday morning by a passing yacht. There were said to be 19 to 20 people on board the migrant boat when it capsized in choppy waters. At least 14 people were saved. A man and a woman thought to be from Iran, and 2 children were confirmed dead. 1 casualty was found by a helicopter, but there are believed to be others unaccounted for.
De ce que j'ai compris, ils étaient à peu près 5 milles de la côte.
From what I understand, they were about 5 miles from the coast, but I have no idea as to why this boat, which was a day fishing type boat, would have turned over.
8,500 migrants have been rescued in the Channel since the start of this year. At least 2 have died, but this was the single biggest loss of life. Boris Johnson said, "My thoughts are with the loved ones of those who tragically lost their lives on the Channel today. We have offered the French authorities every support as they investigate this terrible accident, and we will do all we can to crack down on the ruthless criminal gangs who prey on vulnerable people by facilitating these dangerous journeys." But there are no easy answers to stopping the traffic in desperate people willing to pay large sums to get to the UK.
This is an incredibly complex problem in a very high-risk area, and the solution is also extremely complex. There are a number of things that we need to do, and we are working very closely with the French to redouble our efforts to end the viability of this route.
Migrant charities are calling on both the French and British governments to do more. They say the English Channel must not become a graveyard for children. Andy Moore, BBC News.
Let's get more right now from our correspondent Simon Jones, who is in Dover this morning. And we are expecting that search to continue, aren't we? Morning.
Morning, yes, pretty choppy conditions in the Channel this morning. It was a bit like that yesterday morning when a group of around 20 people set out from northern France. As we've heard, sadly, at least 4 people have lost their lives, 15 people remain in hospital, and a search is going on for others who may still be missing. Now, that was suspended overnight after darkness fell, but we understand it will be stepped up again this morning. But the reality is, after such a long time from this boat capsizing, we're likely to be talking about a recovery operation rather than a rescue operation, if indeed there are people still out there in the Channel. Now, earlier this year during the summer, a couple of times here on Breakfast, we took to the water to see for ourselves just how dangerous this route actually is. Now, we went out on a very calm day, but even then the boats were overloaded. In one case, there were people on board who were bailing the boat out with a plastic container. Now, in those cases, the people boat managed to reach the UK safely. But it was calm then yesterday in the Channel. We had winds gusting of up to 30 miles an hour. Now, politicians here on this side of the Channel say they will do everything they can to assist the French authorities with the investigation. That pledge has been made by the Prime Minister. But charities say this needs to be a wake-up call to stop more tragedies like this that they have been predicting for a long time now.
Simon, thank you very much for bringing us right up to date. I know you're there throughout the morning. Thank you.
The leaders of the UK's 4 nations are being urged to agree on guidance to allow people to celebrate Christmas safely with family and friends.
The Liberal Democrats and the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland say the governments must accept it as inevitable people will travel during the festive period, including across borders.
Our political correspondent Jessica Parker is in Westminster for us this morning. Morning to you, Jessica. It's a hot topic of debate, isn't it? What's the response been to this?
Yeah, and quite an emotive topic as well, because a lot of people will be wondering what on earth is going to happen this Christmas. And as you say, there are now calls for the 4 leaders of the 4 nations to have some kind of summit to agree a plan. How can you get students back home from their universities? How can people travel safely as well? What will the rules be in terms of how many people you can have in a household? And of course, we have seen the 4 nations taking different approaches on different issues. So it does raise the question as to whether they can agree on some sort of plan going forward. And in some senses, Christmas isn't that far away, but I suppose in the sense of COVID, where time feels a little bit warped at times, it's quite difficult to predict what could happen on the 25th of December. We've heard before from Boris Johnson that his ambition is that families can spend Christmas together, but he hasn't gone any further than that. But I think something leaders across all 4 nations will be aware of is a concern, perhaps, that if there isn't some kind of workable plan, you could see a lot of people potentially in the short term doing an sort of obvious but widespread flouting of the rules because it is such an emotional time and people do want to be with their families, and whether that could have a longer term impact on public compliance.
OK, Jessica, thank you very much for that. That's something we'll discuss throughout the morning as well. We're speaking to Ed Davey from the Liberal Democrats later.
Baby clothes have been listed as essential items that should go on sale in supermarkets during Wales's lockdown. The Welsh Government's updated its list of goods that can be sold by retailers during the firebreak lockdown. They've also said customers should be able to ask for non-essential items in exceptional circumstances. More than 67,000 people signed a petition calling for a ban on non-essential items to be reversed.
There's been a second night of violence in Philadelphia after the fatal shooting of a black man by police.
Residents have been told to avoid the city centre after reports of mass looting by a mob of up to 1,000 people. Our North America correspondent David Willis joins us. David, what more can you tell us? Morning.
Good morning, Louise. Yes, another night of violence in Philadelphia. Hundreds of people have been looting businesses in the downtown part of the city there. This after the police shooting of a 27-year-old black man, Walter Wallace, who was shot 14 times after he refused to drop a knife that he was wielding when officers went to investigate him on Monday. Now, Mr. Wallace's father has said that his son suffered from mental health issues and that the police should have used a taser instead. The police department has said that a lack of funding meant that the 2 officers who were involved in this incident didn't have access to a taser or similar such equipment. Now, the Democratic presidential contender Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris have issued a statement condemning the death of Mr. Wallace. They've also said there is no place for violence. His, they said, was a black life that mattered. Now, Philadelphia is the largest city in Pennsylvania, which is a key swing state going into next week's presidential election. Donald Trump has called for a return to law and order in America's inner cities. His rival Joe Biden has called for greater funding for community policing in the inner cities.
David Willis, thank you very much.
Some of the world's longest and tightest COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted in the Australian state of Victoria.
5 million people in Melbourne can now return to shops, pubs and restaurants for the first time in nearly 4 months. In recent days, no new cases have been reported. Our Australia correspondent Shaima Khalil reports.
So I now officially declare Melbourne restaurants open for business.
It's the moment they've waited months for.
I'm so excited to enjoy my first pint of Guinness. It's been far too long.
It feels really surreal to, like, on the way here, we're just like... We're in an Uber. We're in an Uber. Yeah, it feels like we're in an Uber, but are we allowed to be in an Uber? Because, like, usually you're not allowed to go anywhere, so it's just like, oh, what are we doing?
We hope that we can hang on to this feeling that, you know, we're just grateful for even being able to come to our favorite restaurant, our neighborhood pub again.
This was unimaginable only a few weeks ago. Customers flooding into shops that have been closed since August.
What an exciting day to be able to open up to our Melbourne customers. We've really been awaiting this day for very long, so a big day for us.
But getting here hasn't been easy. This was one of the world's longest and strictest lockdowns. It devastated the local economy, but has been credited for containing the virus.
It's not clear when people will be able to travel freely to and from Victoria. Here in New South Wales, the Premier says the real test is going to be what happens with case numbers now that things are opening up.
Victoria was the epicenter of Australia's second wave, and it will be a while before things get back to normal. For now, people are enjoying the simple pleasures they used to take for granted. Shaima Khalil, BBC News, Sydney.
Should we get the weather?
Oh, go on then.
We've got more spookiness today.
She's been out and about all week, Carol, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's at the Tower of London this morning as well. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, both. Good morning to you as well. I can tell you it's a chilly start to the day if you haven't yet ventured out. But look at my view, Tower of London in all its magnificence and splendour. And as Lou was saying there, I'll have more ghost stories for you through the course of this morning. Yesterday we were at Hampton Court Palace, and we were actually talking about the ghosts of Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. They were executed in here, but more about that as we go through the morning. Now, it's 2 degrees at the moment in parts of northeast Scotland, so it is chilly, and for many of us today, the forecast is going to be one of some rain, some showers, and also blustery winds and some big waves as well out towards the west. So we're starting off with some clear skies, particularly in some central and eastern areas, but there are showers already in the west and also the south. And as we go through the day, some of those will be blown eastwards on the blustery wind. So you've got a better chance of seeing some drier conditions in the east. And through the afternoon, some of those showers will merge, especially through the Midlands, the southeast and central and southern England. Now, temperatures today ranging from about 11 to about 13 or 14 degrees. Through this evening and overnight, for a time, the showers will pep up again. There could be some hail, there could be some thunder, there'll be some clear skies as well. And under those clear skies, temperatures will fall away. But by the end of the night, you can already see the rain coming in across Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, also through Wales and southwest England. And tomorrow, that's going to be romping steadily towards the east. Now, behind that, there will be a return to some sunshine and some showers, and some of those showers will be heavy and thundery once again, and still quite blustery winds. But I want to give you a quick heads up for the weekend, because the weekend is looking like it's going to be pretty windy. We've got the remnants of another hurricane getting tied up in an area of low pressure in the Atlantic, and not just Saturday, but also Sunday and Monday as well. For some, there'll be gales, even severe gales, Lou and Dan.
I've so many things I want to ask you, Carol. So you said ravens.
This could be long.
What time? Ravens for breakfast. Having their breakfast.
That's an interesting. Right. Muesli and ravens. What time?
Yes.
What time?
About 7:45. That will be a treat. About 7:45.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'll obviously be there for that. Thank you very much indeed. I'm looking forward to more spooky stories as well.
When are you going to ask the rest of your questions? Just throughout the morning?
No, that was really the most important one.
Okay,
I wanted to
right.
nail down for myself.
Raven News. There's your Raven News. 7:45 this morning. Should we have a look at some of the front pages of the papers today? Lots of them dealing with the top story we have for you this morning as well. Tragedy in the Channel. That's the headline in the Daily Mail, which looks at the news of 2 young children and 2 adults who've died after a boat carrying migrants sank off the coast of northern France.
The Guardian says calls for a national lockdown are growing. The paper also reports that Leeds Teaching Hospitals NHS Trust has had to cancel some non-urgent operations because of an increase in COVID hospital admissions there.
The Telegraph says that a projection provided by Sage Advisors shows deaths peaking at a lower level than in the spring, but then remaining at that level for longer. The paper also reports that the Prime Minister is under pressure to enforce stricter restrictions.
The Sun Online are reporting that Mo Farah will be one of the contestants in the latest series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. The show will be set in Wales this year. Do you know when it's going to be on? It must be soon, mustn't it?
I did see when it started, but the reason why I didn't see the date it started, but I saw that the properties prices around the castle where it is in Wales have shot up. Yes, in the last few days, in fact.
Really?
Yes, huge interest. I think we just need, like we've Strictly been watched by 10
just
million
need
people,
something...
we need a bit of a release, don't we?
Yeah.
What have you got, Louise?
I've got a story here about Catherine Jenkins. I don't know about you, but I do sing at home and my children often don't want me to. This is not just for amateur singers as well. Her voice is loved by millions. This is the way they've written it up. But she had admitted that her children would rather she kept it to herself. She's got 2 children who are 5 and 2, and the cheeky youngsters apparently beg her to pipe down when she bursts into song at home. She joked, "There's a lot of singing in our house, despite my children telling me, 'No singing, mummy, not today, it's too loud.'" She gets told off quite often.
Oh, well, if she gets told off, then it's fair enough that you get told off. I mean, even though you've got a beautiful voice, Louise, beautiful pipes. You know the new Borat film? It's an interesting piece about a U-turn on the issue of gags. So Kazakhstan, fictionally, of course, is from Kazakhstan, and his catchphrase is very nice. Well, you might remember the first film with Sacha Baron Cohen in 2006. It was actually banned in the former Soviet country because they said it was going to be... it showed them off in a bad light. He joked about the wine being horse urine. And Kazakhstan banned the film because they felt it was racist and sexist and showed them to be a primitive nation. And now they're actually using his phrase in an ad campaign.
Are they?
And they actually apologised to him because there was a huge boost in tourism after that. And now the official Kazakhstan Tourist Board have got various films of people around the country using his very nice catchphrase. So they're actually done a complete U-turn, and now they're embracing the gag and using it to promote Kazakhstan.
Look at this house. They've got, this is from The Sun, and it's all about Halloween, and they're calling this is Highcroft House of Horror, a showcase of skeletons, cobwebs and clowns. I mean, look at that. There are quite a few houses dressed up, aren't there, at the moment? And this one Halloween fan has been asked to remove his spooky house decorations because it's too scary for children.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.